Well, welcome to this special webinar today. We're going to be talking about the EB-5 program. That is a visa program which enables you to invest money and go and live in America. We have, as you can see on the screen, Andrew Rissick, Sandra Wust, and Kirk Arschaltz, and his a colleague, Christian. And they're from Christian Tyler Properties. Talking to us from where, Kirk? Clearly not South Africa with the look of those flags.
Sunny Tampa, Florida.
Sunny Tampa, Florida. Okay. Well, we'll introduce the locals in just a moment. But how are things in the United States right now? We're going to be talking about much else, but and we won't even be touching on the big event that happens early next month. But is all the news there to do with who the next president might be?
Yeah, it's 24/7 right now. And, you know, Christian and I decided early last week that since Trump and Biden can have a big American flag behind them, we thought hardworking Americans like us ourselves, we would try that on as well. So hopefully you like the boldness of our American flags in the background.
You put us to shame. We should have at least one South African flag to offset it. But that's great. How long have you been in this field, in the whole EB-5 area, Kirk?
Sure. In 2011, I bought an existing regional center after I had a visit to Doha, Qatar, and was visiting with one of my friends who happens to be a sheikh over there, and we decided that this would be a good opportunity. So in 2012, my partners and I actually started offering EB-5 immigration through our program. And since then, I think we've had over 775 families come through. So that means we've placed about $350 to $370 million US dollars into projects, along with our own capital as well. So you could tell this isn't our first day on the job. We've been doing this for quite some time.
Sandra Wust is with Sable. Sandra, nice to have you on the webinar again, a Senior Director of Southern Africa Development. I'd like to just find out from you, Sandra, this last time I think we were talking about a different part of the world, but the United States itself, is this a country that you visit often? I know you've been in this field for the last 7 years.
Hi, Alex. Currently, the United States, I would say, is my #1 country where I would physically relocate my family to, which is pretty much in line what I experience with a lot of South Africans who physically want to leave and to have access to all first world education, medical. They've got a very low unemployment rate, so a great country to actually call your new home.
And South Africans settle well there?
Yes. The fact that you can settle anywhere in the state, so there's lots of climates that you have access to, and you can decide which side you like. There's different states with different tax structures, and yeah, so pretty much, I mean, it's a huge continent. There is a place for everybody, including big corporate guys, CEOs, financial, medical, farmers. Yeah, great place to make your new home.
Sandra, you are a member of the Investment Migration Council. It sounds like the kind of organization that would have been pretty busy recently, given that many South Africans are looking to, well, stretch their horizons perhaps and live elsewhere.
Yeah, the Investment Migration Council was formed because a lot of guys around the world, small legal practice and brokers, everybody jumped into the investment migration, and not everybody has the expertise and the securities that is needed for families to invest in secure investments and also get the best professional advice. So the Investment Migration Council is managed from Geneva, and they manage all the companies that provide these investment migration programs, as well as the investors to families, ensuring that families do get what they pay for, if you have to put it simply. Yes.
So it's professionalization of the industry.
Yes, pretty much. It's
And
like
Andy
doing your
Rissick?
bar exam.
Ah, got it. Okay. Apologies for jumping in there. Andy Rissick is a director at Sable, in charge of international projects, and he's going to be kicking us off today. Andy, can I go on to the first slide and perhaps you can talk to it?
Thanks very much, Alec. Yeah, once again, great being on Biz News, and welcome to my other panelists as well. So just for those clients who don't know, my name's Andy Rissick. I'm actually the commercial director of Sable International. I'm South African. I live in Cape Town currently. Spent many years in the UK. And I think that's where we got to know you, Alec. When you started Biz News, I think we've worked with you since the beginning, which has been great. A little bit about Sable. We're a cross-border professional services company that deals in sort of 4 core businesses. If you want to sort of really narrow it down, it's financial services as well as immigration. And in terms of the financial services, we help clients moving their funds. We help them with cross-border tax complexities, accounting, and then we also have an offshore wealth management business. And then in terms of the immigration side of things, we do very strong in nationality, UK nationality and European. So those for people who have a birthright to a second citizenship. We deal with sort of normal immigration, work permits, etc., to the UK, EU, and Australia as well. And more recently, in the last 5 or 6 years, we've been very active in the investment migration space. Portugal was the sort of program we started with 6 years ago, but at the moment we offer a broad range, and the US EB-5 is a very, very popular residency program, which is what we'll be talking about today. But in a nutshell, you know, we help clients internationalize themselves, their wealth and their businesses, depending on what they need. Thank you.
First class. I usually have Stuart Lohman nudging me on all of these issues, on the technical issues. So my apologies. Let's just make sure everybody can hear us. There is on your screen a little high five or a hand that if you can hear us loud and clear, please click that so that we can see that there are high fives coming through. I can see them coming through, right? Okay, thank you very much. And then the second thing is you'll see that there is a little question mark on the control panel on your screen, and that's for your questions, which is the part of, well, I can't say it's the most important part of this conversation, but it really is your opportunity to ask any questions that you would like about the EB-5 program. What we're going to be doing is that Kirk, and I guess with some support from Christian, are going to take us through what this program is, how it works, and then we will hand over to Sandra, who'll give you the South African side of it, and then we'll be available for questions. My role for the next few minutes is to listen very carefully when Kirk tells me to switch the slides. So over to you, sir.
Well, thank you very much, Alec. I appreciate that, and it's good to see Andy and Sandra's faces. We haven't seen each other since the end of last year, and so it's really good to see you guys. We have proudly worked with and partnered with Sable International for quite some time now, and we're very proud and honored, and we're humbled by that, because out of all of the different EB-5 projects that are out there, they have the absolute right to choose whoever they want to partner with, and after their due diligence on us, they've come to the conclusion that we offer a very good product, and as safe as a product as we can put together. And I'd like to talk to you just a little bit about that right now. First of all, Christian and I have been doing this since 2012. I've been a real estate developer since 1995. So I'm one of the old guys in the room, and so I've seen it all come and go. And we have, over the last, I'd say 2 or 3 years, focused more on senior care facilities as the investment tool than other categories. We've done other things, but we are now thankful that we did. Because of COVID, throughout the world, the economies are changing. And that's one of the things that, you know, any family that's listening to this really needs to get with Sandra and Andy and make certain that whatever we're talking about today, number one, you fully understand, and number two, that it's a really good fit for you guys, because we would love to have the best and the brightest families from all over the world come to the United States, but only if it's a good fit for your family. And that's what we're all about. And with Sandra's help and Andy's help, they'll be able to guide you and tell you whether this would be a good fit and give you the information through us as to whether the United States would be a good fit for you. We have a lot of farmers from South Africa that reach out to us. They want to get into farming. And so we have put together a program through Christian's fine work to help them locate where there could be farms available in the various states. We have contacts in all the various states of the United States that are farming communities to help South African farmers to make a transition so that they really are going to have virtually the same lifestyle they have in South Africa, maybe a little bit safer over here, but they'll still have that same lifestyle that they're accustomed to. So that's just one of the many things that we do. As I said, my partners and I have put together a platform that we're very proud of. We've done over 750 plus families now, and that continues to grow. South Africa is one of our favorite nations, we like to say, in that we are getting a lot of families coming through. So any family that we talk to, whether it be during a webinar like this or one-on-one, Christian and I can give you references, okay? Sandra and Andy can give you references of people that have gone through or are going through this process so that you can actually hear what this process is. Because over the next 5 years, you're going to find out that Christian and I are going to end up being some of your best friends, and you'll have us on speed dial because the relationship is very, very important, okay? And we are here to help you and your family make a seamless transition to the States if that's what you are all about. Quickly, if we go to the next slide, Alec, that'd be great. One more slide, please. There we go. Yeah, so the EB-5 program right there, that's perfect. The EB-5 program is very easy and very basic. And this slide right here explains why that program is in existence. The United States back in the late 80s was going through a recession like the whole world was, but the United States was as well. They decided that they would be able to utilize to prop up their economy foreign investment dollars. And the United States said, listen, if an investor family comes in from other parts of the world and provides us with monies for a private developer such as ours, Christian Tyler Property, CTP, to develop and create jobs in the U.S. economy in exchange for that investment into private development, the United States government will in turn give them the opportunity to become a U.S. citizen after 5 years in the program. That simply is the win-win-win of this program. It's been around since 1990. It's bipartisan. It does not matter who is going to be in office after January of next year. Whether it's Trump or whether it's Biden, it's a bipartisan program that does not cost the U.S. government or the U.S. taxpayers any monies. And because of that, it's always a very large, high vote to extend these programs anytime the program comes up for an extension. So we are not concerned at all as to whether Trump or Biden wins the election because we know that the EB-5 program continues on because of its solidness. The amount of money that comes into the United States because of this program is huge. And there are 10,000 visas up until just a couple days ago, 10,000 visas available for around the entire world. And because of that, it has always been one of those programs that would max out the amount of families that are trying to get into the United States. Well, they've just recently increased the amount up to 18,000 plus. So it's going to even open up these doors even more. So we're very happy about that. Alec, if you could move to the next slide, we'll continue to move through this real quick here.
Ah, I see. There were little additions that I could have done as well. My apologies.
We can go on to the next one, Alec. Yeah, thank you.
Was that a bit quick?
Well, you can go back. Yeah, if you go back one, we're just going to leave it there. We won't go through all the. This is a fancy slide presentation, so that anybody that's on this call, on this webinar, if you would like a copy of the entire presentation, because we'll go through this very quick. This is a condensed version. We'll be happy to send this to you, or Sandra or Andy as well at Sable can send this as well to you. So this is a very, very condensed version. We have a very thorough presentation that really helps you kind of get a feel for who we are and what we're trying to accomplish and how we do that on your behalf. But in a nutshell, the required capital right now that the programs that we go into is $900,000 US, okay? And that's a non-negotiable number, and it seems to be a number that is doable. And because you do not have to have $900,000 in cash, liquid cash, to be able to do these things. You can receive gifts from family members, from friends. You can receive loans from banks. There's all different kinds of ways to, if a family is committed to come to the United States, Christian and I can help you get to that $900,000 level. And we can explain all that to you. We can continue on, Alec. One of the things that, thank you. One of the things that the United States government requires is that the monies that you're bringing to the United States be lawful, meaning it has paid taxes. And I think that South Africa has pretty strict tax laws, so I don't believe the monies can leave the South Africa until all taxes are paid. Other countries are not quite so rigid, but that's what the United States requires. With those monies, we invested into real estate projects that create jobs for US citizens. And that's the trade-off. So for 5 years, you're basically giving us your monies, investing as a loan, and we in turn utilize that to create jobs. At the end of the 5th year, then, you're entitled to get your monies back. And that's the beauty of this program versus others, is that the monies will be returned to you after a 5-year period. All of the legal documents say that. Okay, and so and that's what we do. In exchange for that, then, once you invest into our program, it's about a 1.5 wait to 2 years plus or minus.
It's currently around between 15 and 18 months.
15 to 18 months after the time from you invest until the time you'll get your actual green card, where you can come, you and your family can come and live in the United States from that point forward. So for a period of 15 to 18 months, you'll live your life as you are right now. And at the end of that, that's when you get to come to the United States and call the United States home, if that's your desires. Okay, next slide, please. Yeah, so this slide right here just talks about all the different kinds of benefits that the EB-5 program has. And a lot of those I'll just go through these real quick. I don't have to look at this because we know this road. You can live anywhere in the United States. Your kids get to go to US colleges on in-state tuition pricing, not foreign pricing. And that can be a third of the cost, a quarter of the cost that it would cost you to send your kids to the United States school if you were to live and be a citizen of just South Africa. Okay, the passport that the United States gives you for travel purposes is the best that there is, and it allows you to go virtually anywhere in the world without requesting a visa. You can just get a visa upon arrival. So you do not have to work if you are blessed and don't have a necessary requirement to work. If you want to work, you can. You do not have to have English as your #1 language. You'd never have to learn English if you don't want to, but most people do. It's just a part of it. So like me, like Christian, once you get your green card, you will be able to go and get any benefits that he and I have as U.S. citizens, except you cannot vote until you get your U.S. citizenship, and you cannot work for the federal government. Everything else is available to you, and rightfully so. Okay, we can go to the next slide real quick. I want to keep this going. Just remember, everyone, if you'd like a copy of this slide presentation, we'll be happy to give that to you. This just talks about our my partners and I's our participation in the EB-5 program. We're very, very blessed. As you can see, we bring families from over 30 different countries. And so far, you know, here, the projects that we've been involved in here at Christian Tyler Properties, everybody's received approvals, and we're very, very proud of that. Okay, next slide, Alan. Yeah, these are some of the different projects that we have, and we can go into this right here. You know, what is the goal of most EB-5 families? Number one, they want to know with certainty that they're going to get their U.S. citizenship. You can go to the next slide, Alec. I think these pop up again, just like the other ones. Yeah, and you can keep going. There's probably another one. I didn't know these were going to pop up like this. Yeah, so one is the your green card, and then the next one, Alec, keep popping these slides up. Thank you. And after the green card is you want the safety of your investment. How have we been able to provide you with safety? Are you going to be able to get your principal back? So $900,000 is a lot of money for anyone around the world. So what we try and do here in our company is we try and make certain that those investment dollars of yours are as safe, if not safer, than the investment dollars that I do. And this is something that I want to make sure you understand here. Your dollars, your EB-5 investment dollars, will be returned to you at the end of our investment cycles before we are able to take any of our equity out or receive any profits from any of these deals. And I think that's very, very important, because we, along with you, are investing in every project we do. There's a lot of EB-5 companies running around and saying, oh, look, we're big, we do this, we're great, we do this. And so be it. They might be good companies, but what they don't do that we do is we are partners, investment partners in every deal that we do. And because of that, we have significant capital, far more capital than your family would have in the deal at risk in any particular deal. Because of that, I like to tell people we have a strategic alignment of interests, simply meaning we both want the very same thing, because I can't get my family's monies back from any of these projects until I have safely returned all of your monies, not some of it, but all of your monies back to you. Only then can I return my monies, and then only then can I see if there's any profits at the end of those deals. And so I think that's very, very important. There are other groups marketing in South Africa. All they are is middlemen. They have no monies at risk in these deals. So if it works, great. If it doesn't work, oh well, so what? They did their job. And then who are you going to go to? You're not going to that company to help get you unstuck. We are going to be in a relationship, a professional relationship, for about 5 years. What we have found is that those families will continually call when they move to the United States, and they become good, dear friends of ours, and we're very proud of that. And then the last thing is a return on your investment. You want to make certain that you're going to get some type of a return on your investment dollars. Those are the three primary reasons that people focus on when they invest in the EB-5 projects. Christian, why don't you speak for a while and take over?
Sure. So just in the interest of time, and Alec, if you want to populate this this whole slide right here, this is more just a summary of what Kirk was describing of how the way that Kirk and the partners structure these deals is that our projects will be completed with or without EB-5 capital. So because Kirk and his partners are putting their money in the deal first, or committing the funds to the projects up front, That means that whether or not one EB-5 investor joins a deal or 5, 10, 15, what have you, the project will still be completed. And that's a huge differentiator, especially in some of the large scale projects that are very, very sexy. The old ones that were in downtown Manhattan or Los Angeles that were very attractive on the brochure, but when you really look under the hood, bore a lot more risk than was really necessary at all from the EB-5 investor's perspective. Because at the end of the day, whether or not you're investing in a hotel or in a senior care facility, something like that, the green card is still the same. You don't get anything special based on that. The biggest things are what Kirk already described is how secure is the project in getting those funds back to you? Does the project have a clearly defined exit strategy? And how is the job creation as the number of EB-5 investors join the project? So those are the kind of questions that you need to be asking every regional center and EB-5 developer that you're interacting with. And if they can't explain it to you in 2 sentences, it's something that you probably need to take under very serious advisement. With that being said, the only thing that I would add, again, in the interest of time, Alec, if you wanted to proceed, is what kind of projects we are doing. And we're focusing over the last couple of years in the senior care facility because in the United States, there is such a high and consistent demand that's not just present right now, but is projected to only increase in demand over the next 20 to 30 years. And because of that, there's actually programs in place through various government-sponsored enterprises that allow for an even stronger exit strategy for our EB-5 families in these projects. And the other thing that obviously nobody could have seen COVID coming, but one of the things that we have been, I'll say blessed by, was the fact that we've been focusing on the senior care industry for the last couple of years and not necessarily tourism or hotel projects, which, as I'm sure everybody knows, have been crushed under the COVID pandemic. Our projects are not receiving that kind of a hit. In fact, they're receiving additional attention and security from government, levels of government in the states. And the demand, again, is still there and increasing. In fact, we're getting people who are contacting us who we're having to go through additional security because of COVID, that they still are looking to place family members in these facilities. So demand is still there and growing every day. I think those points, for at least right now, are all that we really needed to touch on. I think there was probably a good field to either go over to Sandra or any questions that have come up since then.
Well, let me say one thing to close. The United States economy, even during this COVID pandemic, it was hit hard just like every other country. One of the things that you see are statistics that come from the United States. We are totally transparent. Everything that you see happening is actually happening. Other countries aren't disclosing their numbers with regard to COVID and how it's affecting their economy, their health, and so on and so forth. Because we live in this free society, everything is out there for everyone to see. One of the beautiful things is before COVID hit, we had the lowest unemployment rate that we have ever had in the last 75 years. It was between 3.5% and 3.8% across our entire nation. You know, I understand from reading articles in South Africa that it's very clear that the unemployment rate, maybe unofficially, but it's greater than 50%. And if that's the case, that's got to be tough on everyone. Our unemployment rate went up to about 16% when COVID first hit and everybody stopped working because we didn't know what was really happening. We're down into the low 7s already from that high. And we're going back down to where we were before rapidly. And that's impressive for how quickly this economy was able to turn around. And whether you like the Trump as a human being or not, the economy under his presidency has been as strong as it's been in a long, long time. So we're thankful for that. We're thankful that we live here, and we would love to have anyone that's considering it talk to Sandra and Andy and Christian and even myself if we can answer any of your questions.
Fantastic. Am I on the right slide now for Sandra, or do we need to go forward a bit more?
You can move one forward, please, Alex, to the Sable slide.
This one, still one forward from here.
Yes. Keep going. You got several. These are going to pop in.
They're very pretty. And
yeah, keep going.
The flexibility of the American economy and the system it blows the minds of people who live in other countries. It's really, your founding fathers knew what they were doing when they put together the constitution and structure of a country. It'll survive just about anything, it seems. Am I still? Aha! There we go. Over to you, Sandra.
Yes.
Okay.
You can move until you see Sable.
Oh.
There we go. Thank you, Alex. Where does Sable come in with this whole process? First of all, we're based in South Africa. We have our office in Kenilworth in Cape Town. Both Andy and I fly across Southern Africa, meeting families under normal circumstances wherever they are. And we assist from our side for the family as well as on the investment. So we need to make sure that there's a good marriage between the program and the family. We sit with the family, we look at their budgets, their main objectives, their goals, and we find the right and most suitable option for that specific family. So for instance, it would be the EB-5. The family would like to move to a country that is first world, English speaking, they can live anywhere, that provides a residence program that will not restrict them on taking up employment. The EB-5 would be a great fit. You can live anywhere in the States. You can open a company. You can buy into other companies. You can invest. You can buy property. Your children can go to any schools. Once you have the green card, you qualify for all the privileges and services that a born American national would qualify for. The only restrictions basically that you have is until you reach citizenship and have a passport, you'd still travel on your South African passport in the rest of the world, and then enter the US on your green card. And you can't take up state position. So for the first 5 years, unfortunately, you won't be able to become president of the US. But for any other services, you qualify for anything that a born national qualifies. Once you have citizenship, that creates for family legacy. So that will be transferred from your children's children and going forth. The documentation, the application process, we assist our clients from South Africa, and with the added services that Sable can provide, as Andy also mentioned, tax clearance and ethics and all of those services, getting your private documentation, assisting with police clearance certificates, your source of funds, all of that we will assist. And we work closely with the immigration lawyers on the American side, who will be submitting your application for conditional green card, and then your application for upliftment of that, and eventually your citizenship. We also do a very high due diligence before we decide who to partner with on the other side, whether it is real estate agents or a project such as a regional center for the EB-5. We do very high due diligence, and there is quite a few regional centers in the United States. And with the government current rules and regulations, there's about 20 strong regional centers that we could partner with. And of all of those, Christian Tyler by far stands out, especially with the investment that they do. As Christian mentioned, with COVID having such an influence on the tourism industry, there's regional centers that has normally done hotels, and a lot of those projects had come to a halt. Why we like Christian Tyler is they provide a service and do development that there is a great need for, and not just now, but for future. So that makes it very secure. The fact that they bring in their investment with our investors, they stay in the investment as a partner, and there's certain things that does not allow them to take all the equity out until all our families have received their investment back. They have a great track record. We have a 100% pass rate, and a lot of these families, nearly 800 that is now in the system, and nearly half of them have done full circle, and it's quite evident that they have created the jobs. The families have received citizenship and also received their funds back, and there is some growth return on the funds as well. So through that whole process, Sable will be here to hold your hand and see to it that the process runs smoothly. We stay in contact with the regional center, the attorneys on that side, our family on this side, until the end that you get your citizenship program, citizenship with your passport. And also what Christian Tyler does is they give that additional service from their side. Again, they have a concierge desk that clients can ask for advice on tax or an accountant or finding employment. I know Kirk, for instance, introduced one of our clients to an executive employment company that would find him something as a CEO, CFO, things like that. They always have these additional services that they offer our families, and it's truly, as Kirk said, they become family and they have them on speed dial. These families just fall in love with CTP and becomes part of the process of the whole rehoming, and whatever they need, we're there to assist you to make the stage your new home. And of course, I think between the four of us, we're pretty much always on speed dial to anybody that we start a program with, and Sable also becomes family to each of these families. So it's our honor to help a family to actually better their lives and create for a better future for a family and their children.
Sandra,
Alex,
that's great.
back to you.
Yeah, thanks. I'm just Andy, from what I've heard so far, it's almost like Christian Tyler Properties are similar to what you guys did in the UK when Reg started the business. What's it? More than a couple of decades ago with First Contact. So South Africans wanting to go to the UK, that was your business. You were the first contact. Is it a similar kind of relationship? We got you on mute at the moment. Perhaps I need to unmute you.
There we go. I've unmuted myself. Sorry. Thanks. Yeah, that's a good question. So, look, Sable as the sort of conduit through which families work, you know, we know all the bits and pieces that one needs to consider and what needs to happen if they make the decision that the US is where they want to go. Our decision to partner with Christian Tyler is based on the fact that they are a regional center. They're not somebody selling someone else's project. These guys have got a track record, and they're going to deliver on the investment. That's really key. You know, lots of people don't necessarily think about what that investment risk is when you're buying residency or citizenship. And we always approach it simply from any financial management approach is, what's the exit plan? How safe are your funds? Because your funds are at risk. But the good thing is that they're at risk with the developer themselves. So between Kirk and Christian and their team in the US, they have got access to all the professionals that one would need throughout the process, the immigration lawyers, and also just, you know, through the personal, you know, development of the personal relationship with them. You know, if you need help on which school to send your kids to, or even which state you may want to go and live in, this is stuff that they can assist with. So it's a slightly morphed version of our original business in the UK.
Lovely. I think just to reiterate, there is a question mark on your control panel to pose a question. We've got quite a few here, so please try and get them through quickly. Pose your questions quickly so that we don't run out of time at the end. Denise kicks us off with regards to getting your money back after 5 years, that $900,000. Does this amount accumulate interest during the period? Kirk, Christian?
Sure. So the answer is yes, it does accrue interest. Right now, the base return is around 50 basis points. The idea here is for the security of the return of funds being the greater priority, but there is an interest accrual that is paid back with the full investment amount in one lump sum. So the monies do not get returned to you back piecemeal. Once the project is monetized and you are cleared to receive your funds back in compliance with the EB-5 program, everything is remitted to an account that you designate at that time. So that kind of information does not need to be provided up front, but rather when you're ready to exit the timeline.
15 basis points. That's 0.15%. Oh,
50.
50. Okay, so it's 0.5%. Okay,
Mhm.
in US dollars, if you compare with rands, it probably isn't such a bad return after all.
To that point,
Explain the exchange rate.
Yeah. To that point, we actually have many families that once they utilize the currency play, especially out of India, South Africa, Russia, that the returns net are actually much greater than the 50 basis points coming back. Additionally, one of the things that people don't fully appreciate until you're here is, from a living standpoint, while those kinds of returns are lower from an investment standpoint, the lending rates that we have here in the States are also extremely low compared to international rates. We're talking home mortgage rates around 3.5–4%. So everything in that regard is lower here stateside.
If you go back 5 years, the rand was at 11 rand 27 to the US dollar. It's now, as we know, at about 17 rand. So it's about, you're getting about 10% a year. That's not bad going, just by playing the currencies. Stephen asks, he says, how long does it take to get US citizenship after getting the green card?
Yeah, so I'll answer that one. The process, once you get your green card, you're going to, it's going to take about another 4 years to be able to get your US citizenship itself. But you have to understand something. Once you get that green card in 15 to 18 months, you have every right you're going to have except being able to vote, basically. So it's not like you're being limited, but it's going to take a full 5 years from the time you get your green card to get your US citizenship. And at that time, and a lot of families, we're big family people over here, and we believe in that keeping that strong. You'll be able to bring a husband and wife are able to invite both sets of parents over to the US. They will not get US citizenship, but they will get permanent green cards. And that happens about 6 months after that request is made, plus or minus. So you can keep the family intact. If you want to move the entire family by doing that one investment, you can bring the moms and the dads over as well. It does not include brothers and sisters of the investor family, but it does include the parents.
Sandra, do many South Africans do that, where perhaps the income earners go over first and then bring the parents out later and the grown-up kids thereafter?
Yes, South African families, as we all know, are very much about keeping the family together. And again, the EB-5 accommodates for children under the age of 21 to be included in an application. And we've had families before that would bring 2 applications if there's a child that's older than 21, or they could possibly do another program where that would give them access to a different US visa for them to be able to join the family. But most of my families are always asking, what about our parents? And once a family gets their green card and move to the States, they can always sponsor parents. And if those parents, again, do the 5-year or at least half of a 5-year period in the States, they themselves can apply for citizenship and then have US passports. But most of the time, people ask, can I bring my parents? And this is one of the things that basically all the programs that we offer, they can move their parents at some point in time. So we always try to offer programs that keeps the family together.
There are quite a few questions that have come in now, so I'm going to try and go through them a little more quickly. A follow-up from Stephen says, very good question. How do you as CTP return capital to investors after the 5-year period? Do you look to sell the underlying property or refinance the underlying property? It's good to understand the risk associated with receiving the capital back.
Sure, and that's a great question, Stephen. The one thing you have to understand is by being in a marketplace, a sub-platform of senior care, because the supply and demand is so high right now, the demand is so high and the supply is very low, the United States government has federal laws. They call it Section 232 loans. And those Section 232 loans are made to incentivize guys like me to go out and build as many senior care facilities as possible. The baby boomer generation, those people that were born right after World War II, are all now in retirement age, and they need to be taken care of. And so there is a massive, massive demand. And so because of that, there is a law that says once we stabilize a property, a senior care facility, meaning we get about 85% filled up, we can then take it to the U.S. through HUD. They call it Housing and Urban Development, or FHA. These are different government-sponsored enterprises that, by law, must refinance our properties. So we're able to hold on to the properties and refinance. And we refinance, and that's how we get not only the EB-5 monies out, but the construction monies out as well.
It's a good question and a good answer. Thank you. I was scratching my head on that one too. Denise asks, she says, on senior living care facility, does this mean that retirees can also take advantage of the EB-5 program?
The short answer is yes. The EB-5 program is extremely flexible. One of the reasons why the program, we're seeing demand for EB-5 all over the world, because while you might have somebody utilizing the program to find either better economic opportunities for themselves or their families, you've also got people who are simply, I have a lot of European clients who come and they do EB-5 just because they want to retire next to us here in Florida. And so there's no age limit. The fact that the project is a senior care facility has no impact on where the investor can live or the makeup of the investor. It's just the vehicle to create the jobs and facilitate the foreign direct investment coming into the United States. So the fact that if we do a senior care facility in the state of North Carolina, you can live anywhere in the United States. It bears no impact on your individual family's decision making, other than how secure is the project from a funding standpoint and from a job creation standpoint.
Colin asks, at what point during the 5 years do you need to enter the United States?
So I want to address that specifically because we get this question a lot from our South African families for a couple of reasons. In the EB-5 program, there is a flexibility when you receive your approval. So the initial process when you submit takes right now around 15 to 18 months for you to receive a letter of approval back. At that time, you are entitled to an appointment at the consulate in Sandton to retrieve your green card, and you can fly to the United States the next day. However, if that kind of a timeline is not what you're looking for, and I know that South African school systems are done on a different calendar than the US school systems are, so we have a lot of families who are looking to time that better, time that right in a way that fits their schedules. There is a flexibility where you can even wait up to a year after you've received your approval before you contact the consulate to schedule your interview, and that interview can be up to a year from that point. So this is not a situation where you're sitting there with a bag packed by the door, ready to get on a plane to go to the US the next day. You can schedule this at a time that's convenient for you guys, but you are entitled to that interview and the subsequent green card once you get that approval letter.
Thank you. Ermano's question is, will my 26-year-old son qualify to move with me?
Unfortunately, no. He can come over on his own petition. Or what we see a lot of families do, and this is the partnership that you have with CTP and Sable, is a lot of times in these kinds of circumstances, we will create with the immigration attorneys a full immigration plan for the whole family, where maybe we bring over the majority of the family on an EB-5 petition, and then we can work on a different immigration plan for the 26-year-old, who then everyone's here in the US, maybe under different visas originally, but then as the family goes through the EB-5 timeline and ultimately obtains their citizenship, they can then even sponsor the son as well. So there's a lot of ways that we can work that out, and that's just part of what you get in this partnership with Sable and CTP.
Sandra, have you had examples like that you can share with us?
Yes, Alex, currently, for instance, we have a family that one of the children is already 23, so she won't be able to be included in an EB-5. So the main family, mom and dad with the younger two children, will possibly do the EB-5. And then for her, they would do a program such as Grenada, where she would get a passport, and Grenada is one of the E2 treaty countries to the United States, which on that passport, if you invest an amount, there's by law no minimum amount, but you need to invest an amount into a company or start a new company, let's say, for instance, buy a little franchise, and create 2 jobs for 2 Americans. Then on that base, she would be able to move to the United States using the E2 visa that 2 jobs have been created through an investment. So doing that route, the whole family would be able to end up in the United States. And like Dad said, hopefully she meets an American national and gets married, and then problem solved. But yeah, we do have families that do different programs in order to get the whole family into a specific destination. Yes.
Andrew, a question.
Again, sorry, Alex, that's just, I would really encourage people to work with a company such as Sable, who don't just offer one program and then they really try to push it on families, and it might not be the best suited program. We work with all of the programs around the world, and we literally sit around the table. We really look at a family's layout. What are their goals? What is their budget? What is their main objectives? Where do they really want to end up? What's their timeline? And all those things taken into consideration. We really look at what's best for the family. We work out a plan. We provide a cost up front. There's no surprises halfway through the program or at the end. A family knows exactly what their capital layout would be from day one, and what the timeline of payments would be, and what the timeline would be to get them to their main goal, which is most of the time that passport and citizenship.
And I've been to your offices at Tottenham Court Road and have seen the scale of the operation. There's no question that Sable actually knows what it's doing in all of these issues. So we aren't, Sandra's not giving you a sales spiel. She's telling you the truth. But Andrew, there's a question here to ask. What are the 2 major risks to the EB-5 program?
That's okay. Well, that's coming to me as probably a very independent person compared to Christian and Kirk. Look, the risk to any of these programs is, you know, at the end of the day, there is investment risk. But if you look at what would possibly put your investment at risk in the US, and you compare it to South Africa, you know, we have our issues. The US, at the end of the day, politics aside, and if you take all that noise away, is the biggest economy in the world. It's a very stable country. There's rule of law. But, you know, it goes down to managing your risk rather than not taking it, and work with companies that understand the partners they're working with, you know. And we believe that working with the likes of CTP, you know, that the risk is severely minimized because these guys have got a track record. They're financially strong. They can withstand a storm. What other risks? I suppose the risk is also if you go to the US and you move there and then you decide you don't like it, you know, then what? And you do see that where families move to places like New Zealand and Australia because they all think it's like South Africa, and then they end up coming home. that is in itself a big risk. So do your due diligence properly, because it's a very expensive thing to do, to move to a country and then have to come home. But I'd say those are the sort of risks one needs to sort of consider and then mitigate.
We're coming to the end of our program today, but we've got at least, well, let's just stick it to 4 more questions. Barry has got one. He says, does a green card holder have the right to sponsor adult children or grandchildren?
Well, when you're a green card, I'll take the first stab at it, then Christian can fill in the blanks, the holes that I have. Any green card holder has the right to invite and help get family members over for visits, but they're not going to be able to get them any type of a permanent visa to get them to the States. And I think that's important to understand. Because they're considered, for all practical purposes, a U.S. citizen once they get that green card, except for the voting rights. So because of that, now if someone wants to visit them, they can help get that through from their end over here in the United States, and it helps accelerate that visa request process.
Happy? You don't want to add to that, Christian?
The only thing that I would say to that is, again, there are ways to be able to facilitate the entire family's migration over to the U.S., and that just really is on a case-by-case basis that we all, myself, Kirk, Sandra, Andy, and the team, it's best to lay the cards on the table from the beginning about what your plans are, because then we can really make the most efficient strategy possible. We have about, for example, 18% of our families, the primary earner will actually stay in the home country. They're not ready to retire or sell, but they want to get the family foothold set in the U.S. That's something that's perfectly acceptable. So it's those kinds of nuances that we really just should identify at the very beginning and build out a plan from the get-go.
Leonard asks, once you have the green card, is there a time constraint that you have to move over or else it falls away?
Good question. So from the very initial part of the EB-5 process, remember I said earlier that once you get your approval, that's not you getting a green card, that's you being able to go to the consulate to retrieve your green card. If you go to the consulate and you receive your green card, that starts under the EB-5 program a 2-year timer, so to speak, of conditional permanent residency. And that's the time where the U.S. government is going to evaluate your intent on moving to the U.S. So if you get the green card and are just kind of looking for the backup potential exit strategy and you don't really come to the States, you don't get an apartment, you don't start a business, you don't put your kids in school, at the end of those 2 years, that green card will be voided, because the U.S. government will look at it and say that you have no real interest on immigrating to the United States, so you're out. But for families who do show the intent on actually becoming Americans inside that 2-year window, and we typically advise families that there's no hard and fast rule, but if you're spending 50% of your time in the States, or if you own property in the U.S., or if your children are going to school in the U.S., those are the kinds of things that are all considered during that 2-year window. And then once you complete that 2-year conditional permanent residency, the immigration attorneys will file a new petition with that information, and then that condition will fall away. And that's where you then have the permanent green card forever. And if you want to spend the majority of your time back in SA or anywhere else in the world, you can absolutely do that.
Pratesh's question is a bit of a follow-up to that one. The cost of schooling, would kids end up paying the same prices for university as local, i.e. American citizens?
Yes, in fact, my 19-year-old daughter is at the University of Florida right now. Very difficult school to get into academically. And one of the things that we always tell people is you are going to get the same cost of the university systems throughout the United States, which is by far the best university system for a country in the world. It has, what, 7 of the top 10 universities are based here in the United States around the world. But the most important thing that I want you to understand is that if your children are good students, they're going to get aid. Not only will the cost be less, but they're also going to get some type of aid. My daughter goes to University of Florida on a full ride academic scholarship. So because of that, it costs me nothing. Even though I have a discounted rate because I'm a citizen, like you would if you got your green card, and your children would have that same rate. There's also, in addition to the discounts, tons of grants available. So students that are serious students that really want to apply themselves, there are all kinds of grants available as well. And that's something that so many families that we see coming through our program are doing it, not for mom and dad, but they're doing it for their kids. They're trying to create a legacy for that next generation to have opportunities. Because what a great opportunity it is for you to be able to give as a gift a U.S. citizenship to your children. You're not going to lose your South African citizenship, but they'll have the choice. They'll have options. They can work and live in South Africa or the United States, or have businesses in both places. And that is the greatest gift a parent can give a child.
Last question, although we have got a few we're not going to be able to get to. This one is: the investment is committed to the EB-5 program for 5 years. Does this 5-year period start from when the investment is made, or from when the green card is approved? And this is from Stephen. He says 15 to 18 months after the investment. I think that's what you told us.
Yeah, it actually starts from the time the investment is made into the project. So, and that's a good question. So that's why our exit strategy of utilizing those government-sponsored enterprises of HUD and FHA, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, places like that. That's why that strategy is so good, because it is an incentive for us to get your monies back to you as quickly as possible. Other projects are going to say, listen, they don't have the same opportunities that we do because they're in a different field. Say they're in hotels or whatever. They don't have those same government exits that we have. And because of that, they're at the whim of the marketplace. So right now, if you were trying to refinance a hotel in the United States, that's not going to happen. There's not going to be any monies available right now because of what's happened with COVID, and because of what's happened, the spiraling downward of hotels right now, the industry. But in the senior care industry, it's all there because that is a statutorily imposed rule that has to be followed, that we are to receive refinancing. That's what makes ours so appealing versus other businesses right now.
I'm going to squeeze one last question in and then get your final comments. It's from Jill. And the question here is: what are the typical legal and other fees involved for a family of 4? An area we haven't touched on, but a very important one.
Sure. So for the initial petition submission, you're looking at an administrative fee of $50,000, 50, and then there's also the immigration attorney filing, the immigration attorney fees, which typically range between $10,000 and $15,000 for the initial petition, and then there is a USCIS filing fee of currently $4,000 and some change. I think it's $4,060, something like that, in order to submit into the process. There will be no additional fees from the regional center's perspective after the initial submission. And additionally, those administrative fees are not a profit source for CTP or for the regional center, but go to the vendors and service providers in additional oversight, which we didn't get a chance to touch on in this presentation, that provide security and reporting to the EB-5 investors. And it's important that they're compensated from the investor and not from CTP. So we will never come back to you for more funds later on down the road. The only thing that would be additional beyond that is any immigration attorney fees for additional petitions or filing fees.
Do you want to finish off, Andrew?
Yeah, Alec, thanks very much. I think that was some fantastic questions, and it's been a great audience, I must say. But yeah, I think just to wrap up from my side, thanks very much to you guys over there in Florida, and I think it was really informative. You know, between Sandra and I, we're very happy to chat to anyone, and you can speak directly with CTP as well. But as I always say, it's a massive decision to invest offshore for this type of residency solution. Take your time, please engage with us. It doesn't cost you anything to make a phone call. We're always available, and you know, don't rush, but have a plan and understand what you're trying to achieve in creating, you know, a future for your family, or a legacy, as Kirk refers to. And yeah, good luck with sort of charting the way forward in an uncertain world.
Andy, Kirk, Christian, Sandra, thank you for sharing your wisdom with the BizNews community today. Look forward to the next time. Just before we go though, Stuart, would you give us some insight into where we're going to be able to find a recording of this?
Excellent, thanks, Alec. Just on that same control panel Alec mentioned earlier, there's a little chat bar. If you look in there, there's a YouTube link channel for BizNews YouTube channel. We'll put this up in the next couple of hours for anyone who wants to have a repeat.
There we go. Well, there is the chat bar. I can see it now as well. So that's great. Thank you. Thanks very much. I'm just double checking on you. That's good to see everybody. Thanks for the contribution today, and for the community members, many of you who participated. I just support what Andy said. Good luck in your decisions. It's your decision alone. It's not an easy one to make, but it does have long-term consequences that have to be thought through in many ways. And the one thing that I'll take from this is just a reminder from what Kirk told us. United States is an amazing economy, bouncing back to 7% unemployment. My goodness, if only. Anyway, until the next time, cheerio.
Cheers.